Hardcore Classic is some of the most fun I've had in WoW in years. After devouring the death compilation videos for a few weeks, I decided to dive in with the goal of reaching 60 on my first attempt. After a whopping 248 hours, I was ecstatic to achieve my dreams. Hopefully, some of what I've learned along the way will help you get to 60 on your first try on official servers.
Knowledge is power.
One of the biggest things the hardcore challenge is testing you on is your game knowledge. There are tons of seemingly innocuous quests that can quickly turn deadly if you aren't prepared for them. The same goes for enemies with special abilities. Knowing what you're up against and planning ahead is vital to making it to level 60. While there are a few popular paid guides out there for leveling, I personally think it's a little goofy to spend your IRL doubloons on a guide for a 20-year-old game, especially when Wowhead and YouTube exist for free. Whenever a quest looked like it would be more trouble than collecting like 6 bear asses, I'd fire up Wowhead to find helpful tips and strategies going all the way back to old Thoughtbot comments. For example, I learned that ranged classes can cheese the Elite Eliza quest in Duskwood by jumping up on top of Abercrombie's shack, which prevents her guards from being able to hit you at all. It also saved me from dying to the Quergo's Gold quest in Tenaris. What seems like a simple treasure hunt can quickly turn deadly, as when you click the flag, it spawns 5 angry level 45 pirates chasing you. Seriously, it is always worth a 5-minute-long web search versus dying to something unexpected and having to spend 10+ hours starting over from the beginning. My second tip is that unique consumable quest rewards can and will save your life. There are a number of quests in Classic WoW that reward some insanely powerful items. Most notable to me is the Light of a Loon, a paladin bubble in a bottle that saved me from a level 59 death. You can get this from a relatively short quest chain in Ashenvale that starts with elemental bracers at the Mistral Lake. It's important to know that this item shares a cooldown with health and mana potions, so this item should be saved for truly hopeless situations, where you know for certain that a healing potion isn't going to cut it. Another solid quest reward is the Elixir of Water Breathing. If your class can't breathe underwater, you can get 5 of these from the quest Gyromast's Revenge in Northern Darkshore. This should be more than enough to get you through some of the spookiest underwater quests you'll encounter on your way to 60. Notably those in the Vile Reef in Stranglethorn Vale and Faldeer's Cove in the Arathi Highlands. Later on in your playthrough, I'd highly recommend unlocking the Noggin Fogger Elixir as well. This tasty beverage can give you a water breathing effect when you run out of your 5 elixirs from earlier, as well as giving you a slow fall effect. You have a 33% chance of getting the effect you want, however, so make sure you have the buff before you jump. Another useful item would be the Mechanical Yeti you can get from the quest Are We There Yeti in Winterspring. This item has 3 charges and will help summon a level 58 Yeti that will fight for you for 10 minutes. This Yeti seriously slaps and can help save you in a pinch or take down any tougher elite quests that you might need help on. Finally, this one is a bit niche, but you can get the Flash Bomb item from the Pearl Diving quest in the Badlands. This item will fear all beasts within 5 yards of you for 10 seconds, making it particularly useful where the ads summoned by King Bangalash in his elite quest in Stranglethorn Vale. Lots of other creators have mentioned this, but my third tip is to not sleep on professions. There are so many powerful buffs and tools to be gained from leveling up your professions, and some of them will honestly level themselves up. The most powerful profession item, in my opinion, is the Humble Target Dummy from Engineering. This item saved my life a few times during my journey, and is perfect for getting out of any sticky situation. Keep in mind, the taunt radius is rather small, so you want to drop it directly under your character in order to take the pressure off. Cooking is next on the list for being absurdly powerful. The extra stamina and spirit is the equivalent of an extra piece of gear, and can definitely save your life in a close situation with that extra health and regen. Cooking is also extremely easy to level, as long as you're holding on to the various meaty bits and bobs that you're getting from omniciding the countryside. Honestly, you should try and keep up your food buff 100% of the time when you're fighting any kind of enemies. Next up, first aid is an essential pickup, especially on classes that don't have any forms of self-healing. A couple of ticks of a bandage can mean the difference between life and death. You can level it totally for free, just with the cloth you loot while leveling. And it can be a decent moneymaker as well, as the bandages vendor for more silver than the cloth is worth by itself. Finally, fishing can be somewhat useful in order to get leather for engineering, fish for cooking, but more importantly, Rumsy rum. These consumables can give you a massive stamina buff that stacks on top of your food buff, for even more extra HP if you decide to tackle some elite quests. Now, for a few quick miscellaneous tips before I drop my biggest piece of advice. First up, raid markers can be extremely helpful for keeping track of dangerous enemies. Lots of zones have wandering elites that can easily kill you. Slapping a raid marker on them can make it much harder for them to sneak up on you while you're focused on questing in the zone. Next up, use your Hearthstone as a tool to make caves less deadly. I know, the conventional wisdom is that caves are graves. What kills a lot of players is that when they go to leave the cave, respawns have started happening towards the entrance, and they get overwhelmed. However, if your Hearthstone is up, you can bypass most of that danger and get some of the powerful rewards that are gated behind cave quests. Kill your way in a straight line, and then Hearthstone out once you have the goods. Next up, if you are a ranged character, level your defense skill. If your defense skill is 15 lower than your current cap, enemies the same level as you can hit you with crushing blows, and crushing blows deal 150% of normal damage to you. It is super simple to level as well. Just find any low-level cave, gather up a bunch of mobs, and just let them smack you. And in no time, your defense skill will be at the cap, and you won't be in danger of falling over due to crushing blows. Finally, dungeon quest rewards can massively boost your chances of success, but they are only worth the risk if you can assemble a competent group. When I initially started this challenge, I was very against the idea of running dungeons. I didn't want to lose my first attempt character because of some chungus in the group making a dumb mistake. However, once I remembered some of the rewards, like Seal of Rin or the Trip Runner Dungarees, I quickly changed my mind. To mitigate risk, I decided that I would form my own groups for dungeons and be selected. Now, I'm not saying that you need to pull up Warcraft logs in order to do dead mines. However, I would recommend, at a minimum, getting everyone in your group into Discord for comms. If something goes south in a dungeon, you are much more likely to survive if you can quickly communicate and call for things like target dummies, kiting when the healer is out of mana, patrols coming from behind, etc. My final tip is that overconfidence and panic are the most likely thing to get you killed. To illustrate this point, I'm going to show you my level 59 near-death experience. To set the scene, it was late at night, 3 a.m., and I had decided that I was going to take on Death Clasp, the infamous level 59 elite Scorpion boss. Now, deciding to even attempt Death Clasp was a bit cocky, but I had handled other elite quests along the way, and I was feeling very strong as a hunter with some solid gear and a tanky pet. Right away, you can notice my first mistake of having no food buff. I am completely ignoring my own advice from earlier in the video. Such hubris. My strategy was to kite Deathclasp up the road with Aspect of the Cheetah and kill him with Serpent Sting dot damage while he can't catch up to me. Where things go south is here. You can see that I've marked this patrol of Twilight Horsemen. In the heat of the moment, I see that they're fighting the Cenarion Circle Riders, and figure that I can sneak past them. Unfortunately for me though, my Cenarion friends prove to be useless and die at the worst possible moment. I slap down a target dummy and immediately hit Feign Death. At this point, I was totally safe, and I should have been fine to just wait it out and try Death Clasp again. However, at this point, I am in total panic mode, and because I see them walking over my body to hit my pet and the target dummy, I erroneously believe that my Feign Death had been resisted. I have a weak aura that's supposed to make that obvious to me in massive text, but once again, I am in full panic mode. So here, I decide to chug my Light of a Loon and sprint away with Cheetah. My next nearly fatal flaw comes here. I didn't research what these Twilight Riders do or their pathing, and I am surprised by their charge gap closer, which ends up dazing me. Here, I make another mistake, and I swap to Aspect of the Hawk instead of Aspect of the Monkey, because I'm freaking out and I'm trying to get rid of the Cheetah daze. Luckily for me, Stoneform is able to give me enough mitigation to survive just long enough for the riders to unleash and go back to my pet. I'm not out of the woods yet though, as I still need to kite Death Clasp a bit further to escape. As you can see, I just barely escaped my demise. I had 103 HP left, and honestly got pretty lucky that they unleashed when they did. The reason that I'm showing this to you is to demonstrate how quickly shit can hit the fan when you panic, and that overconfidence can quickly spell your doom. I felt like I was invincible because I was so close to level 60, and it almost cost me the perfect run. The next day, I went back to Death Clasp. I looked up the pathing of the Twilight Riders, and I came up with my own kiting route that would completely avoid them. I used my strongest food buff and a flask that I had gotten from another quest, and I was easily able to take him down. Don't be like me at 3 a.m. Use your consumables, research your enemies, and try your best not to panic when things get spicy. Hopefully I'll see you at level 60 on official hardcore servers. I hope you liked the video, and I just wanted to add some brief ending thoughts. I do attribute a lot of the success of this run to just how powerful the Hunter class can be. My homie Thorfinn the Wolf carried me pretty hard, which is why I stopped playing it safe and went after those late game elite quests. For official realms, I plan to play a balanced druid to give myself more of a challenge. I also really want to plug the solo self-found playstyle and encourage you to try it yourself. It's definitely not for everyone, but I do think the bulk of my enjoyment from this run was having to be completely self-sufficient and having to rely on those obscure consumables from across the world. Every time a green item dropped that I was able to use, it felt like Christmas morning. Give it a try and let me know what you think in the comments below. Good luck and stay safe out there.